The president of the LDS Church, Russell M. Nelson, posted a video to the church's YouTube channel the other day encouraging members to #give thanks for the things they're grateful for. It was an 11-minute video where he talked about the healing power of gratitude, and at the end he issued this challenge for members to spend the next 7 days using the #GiveThanks on social media, talking about what they're grateful for. And the second part of the challenge is also to pray to God and tell him what you're grateful for, express gratitude. So I'm a big fan of gratitude. Those of you who watched my journaling video last week know that I'm a big fan of gratitude journaling, and I encourage people in that video to start a gratitude journal. Like President Nelson said in his video, gratitude is really healing and powerful in positive ways in our lives. There is a large body of research at this point, and it's ever growing, demonstrating the value of gratitude in terms of both mental health and physical health, and our ability to be nicer to each other. So when I first heard about this video, this campaign that the church was doing, my initial reaction is like, that's awesome. I think for those of us who are ex-Mormon or who criticize the LDS Church, we spend a lot of time thinking about the harmful things that they teach, and the ways that negatively impacts people's well-being and mental health. So when something happens like this, where the church is encouraging something like gratitude, which is just objectively a healthy habit, I feel good about that. That kind of gives me a little bit of hope, and it's nice to not feel so cynical all the time. It's nice to recognize that, as with everything, nothing is good or bad. Most things are sort of a mix, and we're all human, and things are messy, and things aren't always black and white. So contrary to what mine and Tana's haters think, I'm not out to get the LDS Church. Like, if they do something good, I'm down to acknowledge it, I'm celebrating it, and I love gratitude. With that being said, everything isn't black and white, and I think that extends to this campaign as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this campaign, as I'm probably going to title this video. So I watched the 11-minute video this morning to just make sure I wasn't chatting shit in this video. And some things I liked about it were, firstly, the message of gratitude being healing. I'm into that. I felt like it was pretty heartfelt on the part of President Nelson. I got the impression that the video was at least partly written by a PR team, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but just an observation. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. He was definitely trying to come across as very genuine and heartfelt. Again, I'm not necessarily doubting that is true. But yeah, he talked about the death of his first wife and the death of his children, which just humanized him. It kind of just showed that he understands these very human problems of loss and grief. So I thought, even just purely from a PR standpoint, that was like a good thing, and just good to see someone's humanness, especially someone that people have elevated, in a religious setting, like put on this pedestal. The Mormons believe that he is a prophet of God, so nice to see some humanity there. He mentioned COVID, and there was imagery of people putting on masks, and he talked about how he was concerned about the pandemic and stuff, but also felt like it was an opportunity and just kind of one of many trials in his life as a faithful person, and I agree with that. I think any challenging time in the world or in our personal lives can be used as an opportunity for growth, and I agree with him that just because bad things are going on doesn't mean that gratitude isn't important. In fact, it's more important in times that are tough. He also gave nods to issues like racism. So, in the grand scheme of things that Mormon prophets have said, like, we're at the best we've ever been, considering we've got a long history of LDS prophets being just deeply racist and homophobic and divisive and hateful. I think PR has done a lot for the church, and so have the market research teams. So yeah, I don't really have any beef with the video. I think it was made well, it was heartfelt, and I don't have any inherent issues with any of the messages it contained. That being said, I do think it's interesting to think about how much power President Nelson has, and how this campaign is really highlighting that right now. So obviously he issues this call for Mormons to, LDS people, I want to be PC, or I want to not offend Mormons. He issued this call for LDS people to use the hashtag #GiveThanks on social media and flood social media with gratitude for the next 7 days. And millions of people instantly took to that call, and obeyed it. So it really shows how much power the president of the LDS Church has, obviously over its members, essentially. And that's interesting to think about, because this was, while gratitude is a good thing to promote, and I have no issues with gratitude being promoted, there are a lot of issues in the world that could really use the support of President Nelson, especially in the Mormon Church, in the LDS Church. There is a lot of anti-intellectualism. Throughout this pandemic, we've seen a lot of LDS people be anti-mask, just because typically LDS people are Republican. In America, LDS people, I think, voted for Trump more than any other religious group. I saw John DeLynn post some data about that. So there is a lot of anti-intellectualism in Mormonism, understandably. You kind of have to be kind of anti-intellectual to believe that the Book of Mormon is a historical book. But there are a lot of things that President Nelson has the power to say and do that he doesn't say and do. And so gratitude is a very sort of uncontroversial stance to be taking, a very uncontroversial message. But I think, lives could have been saved by him issuing a call for members to really take the pandemic seriously and wear masks. I think Utah County has been, and other Mormon areas, other LDS areas, have been atrocious with mask wearing, and have had a bit of a sort of conspiracy theory mindset about it all, where they don't want to be controlled by the government, and a lot of them are buying into Trump's rhetoric about the pandemic not being a big deal, and how you don't need to wear masks. And there's been a lot of stuff there related to the pandemic that President Nelson had the power to improve, and so it is disappointing that he didn't. Some other thoughts I had while watching the video: he mentioned racism, and I'll link the video I've made about Mormonism and racism. But it's frustrating that the LDS Church won't own up to its history of racism, that it continues to whitewash its own history, that it essentially won't repent for what it's done because it knows that it's too damning. He mentioned the beauty of the earth. This is one that really gets me. Yes, the earth is dope. It is beautiful. But the LDS Church is very weak when it comes to addressing climate change. Every now and then you'll kind of get a talk about environmental stewardship that is never very popular. The talks that do well among members are not the talks about environmental stewardship, which are few and far between. And so that's just kind of frustrating to hear that nod to the beauty of the earth, but then for the LDS Church to be doing nothing to help with climate change, which is the biggest crisis our world is facing. And I know there's this idea in the church that Jesus is going to come before shit hits the fan with climate change. Very frustrating. But it's disappointing. The church owns an insane amount of cattle ranches, which are devastating for the environment. The church doesn't encourage members to follow the eat meat sparingly part of the word of wisdom, which would really help our climate. Most American members seem to vote Republican, which the Republican policies devastate the environment. And I haven't seen any kind of concerted effort on the part of the church to promote sustainability or environmental consciousness. It all feels very weak, and it's the earth is beautiful, look after it. But people are stupid. We as humans need actionable advice. We need to be told what to do, especially if you're raised in a religion where you believe that the president of your church will tell you what you need to do, when you need to do it, and that's kind of your main way that you sort of figure out what's right in the world. Some more action steps would be great there, President Nelson. To me, you don't show gratitude for the earth just by saying, the earth is beautiful. You show gratitude for the earth by really working to reduce your negative impact on the earth. And I think if you're in a position of power like President Nelson is, and you have the power to affect change in millions of people, then you should use it. He could be doing so much to help the climate. Anyway, I could go on about the climate for ages. He also mentioned war and terrorism, and just some thoughts I had about that are that, again, LDS people typically will vote Republican. Democrats are extremely guilty of this too, but Republicans have engaged in so much needless war. And under the Trump presidency, there has just been a lot of disastrous foreign policy decisions that have escalated tensions around the world. Also with terrorism, the biggest terrorism threat in the US is far-right nationalism. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be like too nitpicky, but it's kind of frustrating when someone who has so much power and influence will sort of give a nod to these issues without really doing anything to kind of enlighten people or like raise consciousness about the issues. I don't know if President Nelson like necessarily understands them that well either. It's hard to say. But yeah, it is frustrating. The LDS Church has a lot of political influence, especially in the state of Utah. I just read this morning that BYU has done a new study showing from 23 researchers, and it's concluded that Utah was underestimating the deaths from air pollution quite a bit. They've concluded that air pollution kills between 2,500 and 8,000 Utahns every year, shortens our life expectancies by 1 to 3.6 years, and costs our economy between $750 million and $3.3 billion. And then with that going on, there are these dirty energy projects that legislators are letting go ahead because it lines their pockets. So like the Inland Port and the Uinta Basin Railway are both things that are going to make our air quality in Utah even worse. And I would love to see President Nelson talk about that. Like if President Nelson said stop the Inland Port from being built, there's a pretty high chance it could happen. Like I think there are so many activists like working to try and stop this thing, but I don't know, the prophet of the Mormon Church saying it, I feel like that's maybe one of the only things that could stop it. So yeah, again, like a thing where people are actually dying, and President Nelson, you know, this man of science, has the ability to save lives with his influence. And doesn't. So frustrating. And as much as I don't want to be cynical about someone trying to promote gratitude, because again, I'm into gratitude, the posts that I've seen using the hashtag give thanks, most of them are like, I'm grateful for my family, or I'm grateful for the church, or I'm grateful for these material things that I have, and I really want to show you guys my wedding pictures again. And you know, it's good to be grateful for your family, it's good to be grateful for your material things that you have. It's also fine to be grateful for your religion if you feel that it's something that enhances your life, but it just feels a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for, or what am I trying to say here? It just feels a little bit self-focused, and I know we can all be self-focused, and I guess gratitude is maybe self-focused at the end of the day. I don't know, it's a tough one. But it just feels like there's all these things going on in the world, and like white people in Utah being like, I'm so grateful for my temple wedding. I don't dislike it, but I just think we could do better. Like, I think there is a better way for President Nelson to use his influence. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. I've seen some ex-Mormons on Twitter talk about how this campaign is just kind of triggering for them because, you know, leaving Mormonism, a high-demand religion, is very difficult, and there is a lot of religious trauma that often comes from leaving groups like Mormonism, especially when members are taught to, you know, kind of be aggressive missionaries, and when people leave you kind of chase them down and stuff. It is hard for a lot of ex-Mormons to see things like this because the church uses things like this as missionary efforts. You know, at the end of the day, this campaign, as much as I don't want to be cynical about the fact that President Nelson and the church like does believe in the healing power of gratitude and wants people to sort of have that benefit in their lives, it is a PR campaign at the end of the day. It is a missionary effort. And so I understand why a lot of former members find it triggering, just because it's kind of more of that whole, I'm so grateful to be in the one true church. Like, there has obviously been a lot of that under the hashtag, understandably. And I just wonder how much it may be contributing to feelings of superiority that LDS people are kind of already taught to have. You know, this is the one true church. This is the way to be. I'm like against any religious ideology that teaches that one group of people is better than another, or that you are superior because of the things you believe and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that's probably going to be individual, you know. But I do think there is a culture of superiority in the LDS Church. There's a culture of superiority kind of in the world in general. Like, we all struggle. Our egos are big. You know, like, it's a very human problem. It's not just an LDS problem. But there are a lot of teachings in Mormonism that lend themselves to members feeling superior, which does create divisiveness. And President Nelson mentioned unity in his video, but again, it's like I'd like to see more actionable stuff and not just these nods to things, because, like, again, humans are idiots and we need more guidance than that, you know. And I think it's very easy for the church to put out these non-controversial things like a video about the power of gratitude and have different types of LDS people take what they want from it, you know, like we see that all the time. It would be nice for LDS leaders to be more concrete and clear about, you know, what they actually want people to do and what they care about, but whatever. I think I've rambled on enough. I think it'd be cool if the church extended this campaign to not only expressing gratitude, but also doing like action items that go along with that gratitude. For example, I think a great way to show gratitude for the earth is by making some environmentally conscious change, or if you're grateful for your material things, go donate food and warm clothes to the homeless this week. Like, find a way to convert that gratitude into something that then benefits the wider world. But yeah, my battery's dying, so that's all I'm gonna say about this video for now. I hope you all have a good week. Let me know what you think of the campaign in the comments. I hope I've been like nuanced enough and not come across as too cynical, because I really do believe in gratitude. If you guys haven't seen the journaling video I posted last week, check it out. I will see you guys soon. Thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. If you want to become a patron, you can do so by clicking the link in the description box, and I will talk to you soon. Hope you're all staying safe.